Fox News alert now on a Fox News exclusive. Brand new reaction after President Obama's re-election campaign takes a new shot at two political targets who happen to be private citizens. Team Obama doubling down its attacks on the Koch brothers. The Obama campaign manager sent a letter to the siblings who run the global conglomerate Koch Industries. It claims that their conservative advocacy group, Americans for Prosperity, is faking its grassroots support and funding. The letter from Mr. Obama's campaign manager reads in part, quote, "You argue that Americans for Prosperity is a grassroots organization of everyday citizens, but its emphasis on rolling back environmental protections and blocking a clean energy economy appears to be nothing more than an effort to promote the corporate interests of your employers and others who lavishly and secretly fund its ops." Nancy Pfotenhauer is a Koch family spokesperson, and she is with me now exclusively. Nancy, thank you so much for being here. You, on behalf of the Koch family, I should say, are about to fire back at Mr. Messina. I mean, first, let me just, you've given us a copy of that letter that you're about to send off.
Yes.
First, let me get a big picture from you on your thoughts on President Obama's campaign directly going after two private citizens who happen to oppose him in this re-election battle.
I think it's downright frightening, Megyn, and I think anybody, regardless of where they are in the political spectrum, should really be paying attention to what's going on here, because I can't remember, unless you go all the way back to Richard Nixon, when we have seen a president of the United States use the powers of his office in this way to single out and go after political opponents. So, I'm sorry, private citizens who happen to have the temerity to disagree with his philosophy. And that's what's going on here. And it's been a pattern that goes back at least to August of 2010, and it's escalating now.
I mean, there's no question that the Koch brothers are not fans of President Obama's policies. That's true of half the country right now, according to the polls. But behind the scenes, and these are powerful guys, they're sophisticated guys, you know, when it comes to business. But behind the scenes, are these men in disbelief that they have found themselves personally singled out by the president and his re-election team?
I think that we've always known that the powers of government can be abused, but I think this is a shocking level of abuse. And, you know, remember that Charles and David Koch have had a consistent philosophy for 50 years. They have been in favor of the free market, whether there was a Republican or a Democrat in the White House. I mean, Charles Koch hasn't hidden this. He wrote a book in 2007. So I think what's remarkable here is the fact that they've been willing to have the president personally go after people who, by the way, did 50,000 jobs in 46 states. They've had Austin Goolsbee, a senior White House official, go after them. They've gone after them in paid advertisements. And each time the allegations are false and misleading. And we could just go through chapter and verse. You know, first they implied that the company was foreign-owned. It's headquartered in Wichita, Kansas. False. Second, Austin Goolsbee claimed that the company was set up to avoid paying income taxes and didn't pay income taxes. False. Thirdly, they claim they dragged us into the Wisconsin battle, claiming that as a political payoff, we were going to buy defunct power plants. False. Finally, you've got this Keystone Pipeline fiasco that is, reminiscent of the McCarthyite days when they claim that we have some financial interest in it when we're not a shipper or supplier. False. And then you have the president's campaign and the president himself tweeting last night things that imply that Charles and David have raised $200 million to oppose him. False.
They came out and said in this letter to the Koch brothers, this is Jim Messina, the campaign manager, look, there's no campaign in the country that believes more in the active participation of Americans than this one, the Obama campaign, he writes. He says, but when you attempt to drown out their voices through unlimited secret contributions to pursue special interest agendas that conflict with what's best for our nation, he writes, you must expect some scrutiny of your actions. Your thoughts?
Well, now, let's start with the hypocrisy. The president and his campaign are supported by organizations that are 501c4 organizations. What does that mean? It means that the donors' privacy is protected. And so his side also has 501c4 organizations. Secondly, after you see the campaign that the Obama administration has waged against Charles and David Koch, who are able to defend themselves, why on earth would you want to release the names of other people who do not agree with the agenda?
You think that there will be retaliation against them?
Well, I would say if past is prologue, you can count on it.
You write in the response, not you, it's Phil Ellender, who's the president of Government and Public Affairs of the Coke company. So he works for the same company you do. He writes in this response that's going out to the Obama campaign now that it's inappropriate and beneath the office of the president to denounce an American company like ours that employs 50,000 people here in the United States, to malign its owners with repeated misstatements and distortions, and harass our effort to speak out just because you disagree with our consistent support for the principles of a free society. Do you think, Nancy, that this is beneath the office of the president?
Oh, completely. I don't think there's any question, and that's why I think you've seen some middle-of-the-road publications even come out and say this is really pretty frightening behavior. I mean, we're all for a robust public policy debate, but it should be civil. We're in a situation where, as Charles and David Koch have made public, that during the course of some of these attacks and these false allegations, we've seen death threats, we've seen threats of violence against our facilities that again employ some 46,000 Americans across most of this country. There is a price that we all pay when someone like the President of the United States sets the standard this low. And frankly, they've got all of the power on their sides because they can use the power of government to persecute and prosecute.
You know, you hear very little about this, the Obama campaign going after the Koch brothers. There is a question about what would happen in this country in terms of media coverage if this had been President Bush going after George Soros in this way, and
exactly.
Whether more people would care. Nancy, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Megyn.
I appreciate it. We're taking your thoughts on it on Twitter right now. Follow me at Megyn Kelly, and we'll circulate some of those responses talking about it. Does this concern you, or is it fair game if you inject yourself into the political process with donations or otherwise? Let me know your thoughts at Megyn Kelly. Well, new fallout from